Today's weather, cloudy with a chance of ransomware. Get ready for malwareception. And 15 minutes could save you 50% on cyber insurance. These stories and much more on today's episode of MSP Dispatch.
This episode is presented by OIT VoIP. Enhance your client's communication abilities with our VoIP solution, featuring integrated billing, on-demand training, and live US support. Collaborate seamlessly with Microsoft Teams integration and put your entire phone system in your pocket with Mobile X. Improve your offerings and increase profitability with reliable service for 1/10 of the average MSP acquisition cost. To learn more, visit oit.co or dial 844-CALL-OIT.
Good morning and welcome to the June 16th episode of MSP Dispatch, your source for news, community events, and commentary in the MSP channel. I'm Ray Orsini, joined as always by my co-host, Mr. Tony Francisco. How you doing, Tony?
Excellent, Ray. Excellent. We are having a great week. We have a break where you and I can actually see each other for a moment before we're traveling between shows. How the heck are you doing?
75 days. That's how many days I have between now and my next conference.
Is it possible?
ChannelCon, August 31st is my next one. So we're bringing on new hires. I'm getting a ton of projects done. I'm updating my tattoos. Like, I'm doing so much stuff in the next 75 days. Hired a personal trainer. It's like nonstop stuff over the next 75 days.
So basically you're going to be at ChannelCon and normally after a conference, we're just kind of like, you're going to be, as you get to, I see you in ChannelCon. I'll see you in Vegas. And you're just going to be like,
yes.
Hey, how you doing? I'll be like, hey, how you doing?
So, Tony, have you noticed that we're actually doing this a little earlier than usual? We're at 9:30 instead of our usual 10 o'clock on Friday.
Possibly. Tell me why.
So we are going to be doing the Pitch It contestants right after this episode. We're going to be going through with two of them. So those watching this episode of the premiere of Dispatch will be automatically redirected to Pitch It. So it'll be kind of cool. But for now, what do you say we get into the news?
Let's do it. And in my first story from darkreading.com, researchers report the first instance of an automated SaaS ransomware extortion. In an unprecedented ransomware attack, the Omega Group breached a company's SharePoint Online environment using improperly secured administrator account, bypassing endpoint protection measures. The novel attack highlights the importance of securing software as a service applications, not just the endpoint. The attackers obtained the service account credentials, created a new user with extensive privileges, and exfiltrated sensitive data. The compromised account lacked multi-factor authentication, a critical security safeguard. Obsidian, the security firm that uncovered the attack, reported a surge in SaaS attacks over the last 6 months, underlining the need for comprehensive security measures over these platforms. There's been a reported 300% increase in SaaS attacks since March 1st, 2023, according to App Omni. The majority of these attacks targeted data stores in SaaS applications, emphasizing the necessity of risk management tools for SaaS environments. Ray, you and I have possibly talked about MFA once before. Maybe. Before I go crazy, I'm letting you answer this.
It kills me because, okay, you remember like a long time, I'm not even going to do the pointing thing to poor Phil because it was that long ago, but we were talking about passwords stored in S3 buckets that were set, originally S3 buckets had read-write public access from day one. Now the default is read-only, or they're locked down. No, default is locked down now. But like, we were talking about securing your cloud apps back then. Okay. Then we've been talking for 10 months, 12 months, 13 months, forever about MFA, multi-factor, strong passwords, unique passwords, blah, 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 blah. Secure cards if you can. Apparently we forgot to tell the people you're supposed to take those same things and also do them in the cloud.
Oh.
Yeah. I'm going to take the mea culpa. I'm going to take the L on this. And I guess people have been assuming we only meant on-prem. I'm sorry.
Oh, you know what? We forgot to transition the old X25, X28 lines to the POTS lines. That's a plain old telephone line for the kids out there, and move that into the internet, the tubes, and then
YouTube.
and anything that goes through the tubes probably should have some mechanism of security, possibly.
So if only there was somebody that was starting to review architecture, maybe from a security perspective. You can give them a title like chief or something like that. He could be a security officer of somebody that handles information.
What kind of information? Is it maybe secure information? With the chief with the secure, with a CS. That is an interesting.
Yeah,
possibly.
Definitely janitor. It's a janitor. No, I mean, seriously, people, I get it's hard because we have decades and decades and decades of standing up Windows servers and locking down DNS and locking down GPO and locking down registry and access to apps and whitelisting and blah, 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 or allow listing. Whatever it is, we have lots of experience on that. But the problem is we have to get that same familiarity with cloud. And I get cloud is sexy, cloud is awesome, cloud is, I'm not going to say it's cheaper. It's definitely more efficient without a question. But it's a much wider attack surface. So, maybe this is the time. I was talking last year and the year before. I think every MSP should have automation engineers on staff. Maybe now's the time to have cloud security engineers on staff, somebody specifically to go review the platforms and make sure it's locked down. Right. I want to hear from our MSPs what they think about this. And since we're talking about old X24 or X25, X28 and POTS, I want to hear MSPs send us voice recordings to 833 MSP Network with their best impression of a dial-up tone.
Or Chewbacca sounds. It really depends. Wait, real quick. So I want to say this. It's important that everyone has the right information. You need to be talking to the right people. Cybersecurity experts should be implementing a policy, not for just your local desktop, not for the local servers and networks that they're managing, maintaining if they didn't deploy it. But at the end of the day, it's anything that extends outside of that. They're easier the SaaS services are easier to implement, easier to manage. But guess what? They're also just as easy to attack. So please talk to your cybersecurity expert. And Ray, you're going to talk about cybersecurity experts. All of them should be trusted, right?
Sure. Why not? Yeah, absolutely. Because the cloud is supremely safe. So you should absolutely trust every cybersecurity expert you see that posts a proof of concept on GitHub. And our second top story, fake zero-day proof of concept exploits on GitHub push Windows and Linux malware, written by Bill Toulis for Bleeping Computer. Hackers are posing as cybersecurity researchers on Twitter and GitHub, sharing fake proof of concept exploits for zero-day vulnerabilities that infect Windows and Linux with malware. To promote these exploits and target vulnerability researchers and firms, they employed a fictitious cybersecurity company named High Sierra Cybersecurity. I'll be checking my contacts in a minute. The repositories appear legitimate and impersonate real security researchers, even using their headshots. VulnCheck discovered this ongoing campaign, which started around May 2023, promoting exploits for popular software like Chrome, Discord, Signal, WhatsApp, and Microsoft Exchange. The malicious repositories contain a Python script that acts as a malware downloader. The malware is then saved in specific folders and executed, potentially installing a Tor client and password-stealing Trojans. Although it's uncertain how successful the campaign has been, the threat actors are persistent, creating new accounts and repositories when the previous ones are reported and taken down. By specifically targeting the vulnerability research and cybersecurity community, threat actors aim to gain access to vulnerability research that they can exploit. And what makes it worse is that many of these cases, the malware introduced through these exploits may grant initial access to a cybersecurity company's network. And what makes it worse is that in many cases, the malware introduced through these exploits may grant initial access to a cybersecurity company's network, potentially resulting in additional data theft and extort attacks. Tony, my brain is breaking because this is Inception. This is the white van falling backwards off the bridge. At the same time, though, if you're going to Discord to look for a proof of concept for malware, treat it like malware, right? Am I overthinking this?
You know what? This is like one of those turds that just won't flush. It keeps popping its head back up in different ways. And right now everybody's laughing because we all know how truthful that is. At the end of the day, please validate what you're doing from every single angle. That being said, if you're in a site that is not the authentic vendor site, possibly, just throwing this one out there, it may not be legit data. So in GitHub, for example, if somebody is coming out as an expert, you may need other points of references. Correlate your data. The problem with everything from almost every single belief, call it religion, politics, all the things we're not allowed to talk about, is that there tends to be an echo chamber that has one originating point. And if you start correlating data from multiple points, I have this rule, 2 people in an elevator, 1 person farts, we all know who did it, right? At the end of the day, if there is a difference between what you see here and what you see here, you can go to a tertiary point and validate that even further. Otherwise, you're just doing yourself and possibly others harm. Ray, am I going too far with that?
I mean, what kills me here is the target audience, right? So I get they're posing as security researchers, but I would think the people downloading these proof of concept packages are also security researchers, are security aware, security cognizant. And so, and I don't know, like, they would know better than to download this stuff on an insecure system or on anything that you can't just set fire to, right?
How dare
this
you
is the reason
that.
Sandbox exists. This is the reason VMs exist. Like, so if you're downloading this on your personal system, all I gotta say is you got what you got coming. Like, this is your fault. I'm not trying to victim shame here, but we can do better here. I'm just saying, you know what I mean? You know what? I'm just waiting for like somebody to hit us up in the comments or on Discord and be like, "It was me, you jerk. I got hit," and I'm gonna feel super bad about it. But for that, you know what I need to do? I need to exit stage left. Let's talk about something fun like cyber insurance and how the rates keep going lower.
Yes. And in my next story from Bloomberg.com, cyber insurance premiums surge 50% as ransomware attacks increase. This story was brought to us from our Discord channel from Bill Osborne. Thank you, Bill. In 2022, U.S. cyber insurance premiums saw a 50% surge, driven by an uptick in ransomware attacks and increased online commerce, reaching $7.2 billion. AM Best's recent study indicates the industry's recovery as loss ratios for standalone and package policies dropped to 43% and 48%, respectively, after the incurred losses in 2020 and 2021. Surplus lines insurers addressing unique risks are now in the majority. As artificial intelligence technology advances and ransomware attacks rise, demand for cyber insurance will increase to grow in 2023, as per AM Best senior analysis, Chris Graham. Ray, I have a lot to unpack here with you. I would love to talk to you like an expert, but I'm actually going to pass this to you. What are your thoughts on this one? And do you have any insight? How much information can you give us?
None. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to phone a friend and bring up Will Brooks, who is the MSP channel manager for Fifth Wall Insurance. Bring him up, and this guy, Fifth Wall, knows insurance, right? We've seen Reed, we've seen Wes, we've seen Dustin, we've seen Wilson, everybody out there, getting out the good word, helping MSPs actually have this conversation with their clients. Hi, Will. How you doing?
I mean, I was just in the middle of talking to someone, and then suddenly I dropped into this call. I don't really know what's going on.
He's like, "Where am I?"
Hey, what's going on, everybody?
Feature, not a bug. It's a secret feature of Teams. We'll discuss that later in the resource of the week.
Interesting. The secret poll in to whatever conversation you want to bring someone into. I like it.
What are you thinking here? I mean, you got the rates going up. You got like, you heard Tony's story. What's your take on this?
There's a great question. There's a couple of things I like to think about. First of all, we always say that cyber insurance is like the Wild West. For a while, it's been a hard market, which basically means carriers can do whatever they want. They're charging whatever they want. They're doing so because, during the pandemic and all that good stuff, they lost a ton of money because no one had good security. So they had these cheap policies they wrote and were paying out millions of dollars. So they were losing all this money. So that happened. So that caused this crazy increase in premiums. What's interesting, so AM Best is one of those kind of rating companies. You also have Fitch, which is kind of like part of the S&P global market. I'm sure you've heard of them too. So Fitch came out with some data too, and they said premiums actually increased 62%. So talk about an increase, right?
Wow.
So they wrote combined ratio. Hold on. So but here's the interesting part, right? 62% in increase in premium, but their loss ratios went down 25%, meaning, or I don't know if that's how you would say it. The ratios improved, let's say that, by 25%. So the loss ratio is, hey, how much money is the insurance carrier bringing in versus how much are they paying out? And that actually improved. So there's a lot of that. So one of the things to consider here is when you look at an article that's referencing 2022 prices, 2022 premiums, versus what we're even seeing in the first quarter of 2023, we've actually seen some clients' policies not increase for the first time in, I don't know, 5 or 6 years. They're still high. Don't get me wrong. We like to say maybe finally a cyber insurance policy is where it should have been in the first place in terms of cost, but it didn't increase. We've seen non-increases, which is crazy.
Well, here's an interesting question. What do you attribute that that drop in loss or the increase in successes? I guess the other way, inverted. What do you attribute that to? Is that because people are improving their cybersecurity policies, processes, the technologies improve, the education and exposure of these issues are being, let's say, brought to everyone through what's a good way, a good channel, a mechanism that everyone. MSP Dispatch, maybe that the show that brings out my neuroses, my anxiety attacks. It's funding multiple therapists as after I leave the show and after I get done talking about ransomware. Do you think it's the awareness across the board? Do you think it's a specific technology or process? Give us what is your take on why things are actually getting better in some degree, even though there was an overall increase in policy charge?
Yeah, 2 quick points. Underwriting is getting more serious, so they're requiring better security controls from their clients before they write a policy. So it's not, hey, have these controls and we'll give you discounts. It's literally, hey, if you do not have these controls, we're not writing a policy for you. So there's that. The other piece, honestly, ransomware went down the final quarter of 2022. And a big part of that, I believe, is the war in Ukraine. I mean, whenever you have Russia, there's other nation states that often the ransomware actors will come out of. When one's at war, typically you're going to see, when you typically see those countries at war, then you're going to see less attacks. So I don't know what's going to happen we did see an increase in ransomware at the first part of 2023. So it's really,
So
but I would
when
say
I talk
those
to
two
Reed,
pieces. Yeah, go ahead.
when I talked to Reed over the president at Fifth Wall, we did some partner first. We've done them twice already. I'll let Phil link them here wherever they're at. Whatchamacallit, one of the things he had brought up was that the insurances were taken off guard during 2020 because they were kind of just make up numbers for policies, for premiums, and not really knowing what to expect previously. And then once there's the dolphins, we use dolphins for bleeping out. But when stuff went south, then that's when the reins on the security controls and all that stuff started getting a little bit tighter, premiums started going up. So like when you say maybe this is where this first quarter of 2023 is maybe where the premium should have been, now that this is data backed versus just guessing at it, is that what's happening? We've had enough data at this point that they know what to expect.
They at least know what better security is. I mean, there's two sides to your point about 2020. I like what Wes Spencer says about it was like Oprah handing out insurance policies. You get a policy, there's one under your chair. I think that's perfect. They were just giving them out like candy, right? And now they're a lot stricter on who they're going to take on. So that's definitely a part of it. I do think that just as they continue to get insurance has always been based on history. So past loss history informs future policy cost and future policy eligibility, all that kind of stuff. So as they continue to see the results as to, oh, you know what? A lot of MSPs are working on these carrier apps for their clients or helping their clients out with them. There's a ton of security control questions. A lot of those are still data collection. So their actuaries are going to look at it and say, okay, based on answers, where did we see the breaches and where did the security sit? That's going to better inform, but that takes time, right? So we're sitting here saying, no, you need these things. You should have these things. Insurance is waiting to see the data.
Can I ask a quick question? We talked to who's our main audience? Oh, MSPs. We have a ton of MSPs right now listening. Can they contact you about cyber security insurance? Or who do they call? Because cybersecurity insurance, all they know is it's expensive. It's getting more difficult to get. There's a ton of ransomware out there, and they're getting attacked from every single angle. But they still need something called what's that called? Insurance. And no one has a good place to start there because that's not what MSPs do. Can they reach out to Fifth Wall? Can they reach out to you? Wes is a critical, member in the MSP community. He's very well known. I'm sure he's overwhelmed as well. I mean, can they reach out to you? And what direction? Where would you start the MSP community?
Yeah, I mean, reach out to me. You can reach out to Wes. He's just going to reach you out to me anyway. So you can reach out to me, and we can start the process. We partner with MSPs just to help make this more accessible to them, more understanding, and hopefully help them better. I mean, like we were saying about security controls, help them better equip their clients with good security so they're eligible for it.
Will, thank you so much, man. We always appreciate you. Those that want to reach out to Will, his LinkedIn will be below, and also fifthwallsolutions.com/MSP. Take you straight to the MSP. If you're working with another insurance carrier, do they have an MSP page? So go talk to them, reach them out. Thank you so much, Will. I appreciate you. Tony, we got some notables we're going to cover?
We do. Let's jump into them. Thanks, Will.
Thanks, y'all.
My first notable mention, Microsoft June 2023 Patch Tuesday fixes 78 flaws, 38 RCE bugs. Written by Lawrence Abrams for Bleeping Computer. Microsoft's June Patch Tuesday brings security updates for 78 flaws, 38 remote code execution vulnerabilities, and much more. Only 6 flaws are categorized as critical, including denial of service attacks, remote code execution, and privilege elevation. However, the patch does not address any zero-day vulnerabilities or actively exploited bugs. Notable vulnerabilities include a privilege escalation flaw in Microsoft SharePoint, Tony, and a remote code execution vulnerability in Microsoft Exchange Server. Additionally, Microsoft Office updates address vulnerabilities in Excel, OneNote, and Outlook that could lead to remote code execution. The complete list of resolved vulnerabilities can be found in June 2023 Patch Tuesday updates, linked in the show notes below. In a follow-up to our conversation last week about the Reddit API updates, Reddit CEO assures employees that API pricing protests haven't hurt revenue. Written by Sharon Harding for Ars Technica. For transparency's sake, Advanced Publications, which owns Ars Technica's parent, Condé Nast, is the largest shareholder in Reddit. So I do invite you to get other sources as well. Reddit CEO Steve Huffman reassured employees that the ongoing protests against the API price hike have not impacted the company's revenue. Over 8,500 subreddits are currently private or read-only in protest over Reddit's upcoming API price hike. However, Huffman remains optimistic, stating in an internal memo that the financial impact has been minimal so far. While some subreddits will continue their blackout, many are expected to return by Wednesday. Huffman emphasized fair payment for third-party apps and mentioned upcoming improvements. The protests have drawn attention to Reddit's IPO plans and desire for platform control. While the protests have shaken the community, the financial consequences for Reddit are yet to be seen.
And my first notable mention from bleepingcomputer.com, a massive phishing campaign uses 6,000 sites to impersonate 100 brands. From bleepingcomputer.com, we see a massive brand interpretation campaign that has been deceiving people into entering their credentials and financial information onto fake websites since June of 2022. The campaign, identified in Bolster's research team, targets over 100 prominent clothing, footwear, and apparel brands, including Nike, Puma, and Adidas. The operation relies on approximately 3,000 domains and 6,000 websites, adding 300 new deceptive sites each month. Most of these domains, registered through Alibaba.com, Singapore, have been active for 90 days to 2 years, which reduces their chance of being flagged as suspicious. Google has indexed many of these domains, making them rank high for specific search terms and appear credible to unsuspecting users. While the precise scam strategy is uncertain, Bolster suggests that the sites either don't ship products or deliver counterfeit items, while potentially reselling credit card details gathered on the checkout pages. For secure online shopping, it's greatly advised to verify official brand website URLs. And my next notable from VentureBeat.com, Canva announces developer platform and a $50 million fund for app development. Canva, the visual communication platform, has introduced its Canva developer platform and a $50 million innovation fund. Specifically, the platform provides developers with APIs and tools to connect to Canva's 135 million monthly active users. The fund is designed to assist developers, especially those in underrepresented groups, in building, growing, and marketing their apps. The platform includes a software development kit, an SDK, that provides resources such as JavaScript libraries, documentation, and sample apps. Canva aims to expedite the growth and adoption of its apps on its platform through financial support, marketing assistance, and by exploring effective monetization strategies.
For today's AI Roundup from the New York Times by Adam Satariano, Europeans take a major step toward regulating AI. The European Parliament has taken a significant step towards regulating artificial intelligence by passing a draft law known as the AI Act. This law would impose restrictions on the riskiest uses of AI technology and mandate transparency from AI system creators about the data used in their programs. The proposed law aims to limit the use of facial recognition software and introduce new transparency requirements for generative AI, like OpenAI's ChatGPT. These systems would need to publish summaries of copyrighted material used for training and establish safeguards against generating illegal content. Despite the law still being in draft form, the move marks the EU as a leader in the regulation of AI ahead of the United States and other large Western governments. However, questions remain over the effectiveness of these regulations as technology is evolving faster than lawmakers can keep up. The law's approach to regulation is risk-based, focusing on areas with the greatest potential for harm, such as AI's use in critical infrastructure, the legal system, and determining access to public services and government benefits. Tech companies would need to carry out risk assessments before deploying their technology, similar to the process for drug approval. Contentious areas of the draft include the banning of live facial recognition and the prohibition of companies from scraping biometric data from social media to create databases. While tech industry groups caution against overly broad regulations stifling innovation, many acknowledge the need for adequate regulation of AI technology. Before being officially passed, a final version of the law will be negotiated by representatives of the European Parliament, the European Commission, and the Council of the European Union, with the aim of reaching an agreement by the end of the year. I'm Phil Buck, and that's it for today's AI Roundup. There are plenty of amazing upcoming events taking place across the community, so let's see what's happening this week. On June 20th through the 22nd, an in-person event, HPE Discover in Las Vegas, Nevada. And on June 21st through the 22nd, another in-person event, ASCII Edge in St. Petersburg, Florida. And on June 22nd at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, Cyber Insurance Masterclass, Smooth Talking, Tackling Objections, presented by Huntress. And coming from the MSP Media Network this week, we have, on June 21st at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, Partner First, Are You Running a Bank or an MSP? And on June 23rd at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, another edition of Pitch It 2023 Vendor Spotlight featuring vCIO, Toolbox, and Hackware. And as always on Tuesdays and Fridays at 10 a.m. Eastern Time, MSP Dispatch presented by the MSP Media Network.
Hi, I'm Aaron, and I'm a jobaholic. We all have something in common. We all have a worst job story. Each episode, I'll welcome one guest to share their most insane worst job story. And in return, I'll share one of mine. Join me the first Friday of every month for new episodes of 38 at 38.
So how'd you like today's episode? I know I did. If you liked it, hit the thumbs up button. If you didn't, go ahead and hit it 3 times. And if you want to hear more, stay here to be redirected to the Pitch It Contestant episode at 10 o'clock. If you want to hear more besides that, hit the subscribe button on YouTube or your favorite podcatcher. Did you know we also have a Discord where we post stories all week? You can propose your own stories and even vote on which ones we'll cover. As my friend Rich Banky says, make sure to tell a friend. Also, be sure to follow us on social media at MSP Media TV. Have any questions? Email news@mspmedia.tv for answers on the next episode, or leave us a voicemail, 833-MSP-Network. Tony, I had a great time. I can't remember the last time I struggled that hard on easy stories. They weren't even like hard words.
Is there going to be B-reel, or is that going to be in the posting, the post, like right? How do we do the B-reel?
I didn't even say chrysanthemum. Like they weren't hard words. Not a single one was like polysyllabic. It was just my brain was.
Don't ever say something that big again. Okay, we got to go because the next show is awesome. It's like now.
It's now. So see you in a few minutes, everybody. Till next time, take care of yourselves and each other.
This has been a broadcast of the MSP Media Network.
To promote these exploits and target vulnerability, researchers and firms they employed a fictitious. That was a slowly building horrible event of a paragraph. All right.
That was actually a beautiful internet sound. I'm sorry to break it. I have to compliment you on that.
I'm up to 28.8 kilobits. Let me see. My first notable mention, Microsoft June 2023 patch. Can't even get past 6 words. I should note that the author of this story, Advanced Publications, also, for transparency's sake, Advanced Publications, which owns Ars Technica, and all right. For transparency's sake, Advanced Publications, which owns Arts. This is why I drink. Give me a second. It's water.
The fund is designed to assist developers, especially those from One more time.
It's got to be the hardest story I've ever had to get through.
Hey, Ray, it was just like anytime you got to mow the lawn, you got to pull the cord like 5 or 6 times, and then it takes care of the lawn perfectly afterwards. That's all it was.
I was like, written by Bill, written by Bill, Bill Toulis. Like, yeah. Tony, you good?
The visual that was like, I love the written by Bill.
And then Ray starts spinning around in his chair.
Exactly.
Australia.
That was good. Oh, that was good.
Something good had to come out of that. That was rough.
That was funny.